Hey everyone, I'm Tassenix, and welcome back for another mod guide video. We're continuing on with the Mandalorian faction per your request, and that brings us to the third member of the core team, IG-12 and Grogu. So we've already covered BKM and Paz. Look on my channel for those videos. But before we get into IG-12's kit, let's jump into BKM's leadership just to remind ourselves how this works. Okay, so, Way of the Mandalore. Light side Mandalorian allies gain 40% defense, max health. Wow, that's louder than I thought it would be. A little bit of music I wanted. Alright, 40% defense, max health, and offense. Light side Mandalorian allies gain 5% defense, stacking, max of 30% for each debuff on them. Whenever a light side Mandalorian ally deals true damage, dispels a debuff, or resists a debuff, all light side Mandalorian allies gain 1 stack of Ancestral Resolve, maximum of 100 until the end of the encounter, which can't be compy, dispelled, or prevented. Whenever an ally attacks an enemy inflicted with Armor Shred, all light side Mandalorian tank allies taunt for 1 turn, max of 2 times per turn. And in Grand Arena with the Omicron, light side Mandalorian allies gain 50% mastery, max health, and 30% speed. Not 30%, just 30. At the start of each encounter, light side Mandalorian tank allies gain taunt for 2 turns. If there are other active enemies, excluding summons, the first light side Mandalorian ally that is defeated each battle is revived and recovers 50% health and protection. All light side Mandalorian allies gain 1 additional stack of Ancestral Resolve whenever a light side Mandalorian ally deals true damage, dispels a debuff, or resists a debuff. So what does this mean for Grogu? He's a support. He doesn't actually do any damage at all. He does a ton of debuffs though, and has some active and passive healing. Really cool kit. But as far as a leadership impact, we get a lot of health from this, the opportunity to stack defense, and if Grogu is the first character to go down on our team, then he would be revived by this lead. All right, let's get right into him. Let's start with his unique. Yes. If the Mandalorian Beskar armor is an ally at the start of battle, IG-12 and Grogu gains the Scoundrel tag for the rest of the battle. IG-12 and Grogu has plus 100% counter chance. For each light side Mandalorian ally at the start of battle, excluding summoned allies, IG-12 and Grogu gain 20% max health. At the start of IG-12 and Grogu's turn, all light side Mandalorian allies... Actually, before I move to the next section, I want to just talk on this real quick, because this is a pretty long unique. So, yeah, I covered, both in the BKM and in the Paz video, about how you might use BAM with this team. But when you are using BAM, he gets this extra Scoundrel tag. So that opens up all the Scoundrel synergy, enables you to use maybe Queel if you wanted with this character. So maybe you don't have the full, Bo-Katan team, together right now. But there's an actual Scoundrel application for this team right there. And of course, for each light side Mandalorian ally, we just get a ton of max health, right? Big deal. At the start of IG-12 and Grogu's turn, all light side Mandalorian allies recover 10% of his max health. So there's your incentive to stack that up as high as possible. And then you see how it starts. It's at the start of every turn he takes. So that implies that we also want him to be fast so that he can be handing out significant amounts of passive healing to the whole team. So yeah, they recover 10% of his max health. If his allies are at full health, they gain offense up and protection up 10% for 1 turn instead. Nice. Whenever IG-12 and Grogu use a special ability, a random other light side Mandalorian ally assists, gaining additional effects depending on the ability used. So this is referring to his other abilities here. If it's yes, assisting ally reduces their cooldowns by 1. No. Assisting ally deals 20% more damage and assists again. You can't control which ally this is, but there's kind of no bad way for this to go. If there are no other allied combatants at the start of a turn, IG-12 and Grogu escape from battle. So yeah, just like other non-combatants like C-3PO, if he's the last one standing, the battle's over and he withdraws. Okay, I won't cover the TW Omicron, but I don't think it's going to change the way that you would mod the character, regardless. All right, let's go to his basic. No. Inflict healing immunity on target enemy for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. And call a random other light side Mandalorian ally to assist, dealing 50% less damage. If it is IG-12 and Grogu's turn, inflict ability block for 1 turn, which can't be evaded or resisted, and remove the damage penalty from the assisting ally. Wow. So, all the debuffs on this ability are happening. Doesn't matter. That's pretty nice. And there's a number of circumstances where you're going to want to use this basic to inflict that ability block, as opposed to doing either of his other moves. Okay, his first special. Yes. The weakest ally and the target ally dispel all debuffs on themselves and recover health equal to 30% of IG-12 and Grogu's max health. All allies gain defense up for 2 turns. So, when you go to use this ability, you can use it on the second weakest ally to give this healing benefit to that character and to the weakest ally. Or you could use this ability targeting the weakest ally and then they get a doubled benefit, right? Because it says the weakest ally and the target ally. So if they're the same, then you get double of that. So it's either a big heal on 1 character or a decent heal on 2 characters. And then everybody gets defense up. All right, his second special. No. Call other target ally to assist. Inflict blind and dazed on all enemies for 2 turns, which can't be evaded, but it can be resisted. Dispel all buffs from all enemies and stun target enemy for 1 turn. Incredible. So this is the one where it's like you target your BKM. She just goes in and does a bunch of attacks. You've just dispelled everybody. You put all these debuffs down. You stunned your primary target. This is an incredible skill. Okay, so we covered the character kit. Let's talk about, again, turn order and team comps. I'm trying to cover this in every video for you guys just as a brief note. But yeah, these characters are shown in the desired turn order, okay? Your leadership's obviously going to be BKM. But the core 4 of your team is going to be BKM, Paz, Grogu, and then in my opinion, Bo-Katan Kryze, because she allows you to get the most banners back. In 5s, you have a few different options for composition. You always have that core 4, in my opinion. If you want to use armor as a Kickstarter to this team, you can have her here, and I like her to be the very fastest of the bunch, because I want her to be just zipping on by and kicking us all off. Although I will say that I like armor sometimes with C and sometimes with Slacker, so I don't often use this one. This is another composition that's very nasty. This is, again, IG-12 would be the fastest of the bunch, followed by BAM, then BKM, and then, yeah, let me change this right now because it's going to annoy me if I don't. I did talk about this in my last video, and this deserves to be in the correct order. So yeah, if you're going to do it with BAM here, you would want BAM ahead of BKM. And for more detail on that, you can see the video on BKM where I explain this interaction here. But then you'd have the Dispel from OG Bo, and then Paz Vizsla sweeping with a bunch of debuffs. It's a pretty nasty setup. If you want to keep your BAM distinct and use him with Queel and IG-11 and Scoundrels in another team, okay, fine. A third option is, again, Grogu fastest, then BKM, then Bo, then Sabine Wren and Paz Vizsla. This is probably the least powerful of the 3 5 versus 5 comps, but I would say that this costs you the least as well. Like, using Sabine Wren frees up both BAM, which is the base of another whole team, and then you have Armor, who's an amazing flexible tool in a number of spots. And then, of course, for 3 versus 3, you know, Grogu over BKM over Paz. This is your core. Maybe depending on the Datacron meta, you could sometimes go less in 3s or 5s. You could just go with maybe BKM and Grogu or BKM and Paz. But in general, this is going to be like the core that I would run with in 3s or 5s. Okay, let's talk about the mods themselves for this character. I surveyed a few different players, and there's really only a little bit of difference between us. Most of us kind of went for the same thing, so I am going to just highlight myself and Aesop Rock. So first we'll do Aesop. He went with speed and health sets, right? And went with health primaries. Now, he can do this because he's got an incredible amount of speed baked into this. The mark that I was trying to hit is right about 340. So he's 330 plus, and he's doing this with a health primary arrow. I have to have a speed to make mine work. But you see the health is enormous, 175,000. You don't need to be this high. Don't focus on the high number. Focus on the primaries and what the effort is, right? This is health primaries with high secondary of speed. So you could see what the idea is here. High health, 330 plus speed, over 100% potency, really, really key. I recommend that so strongly for a character this dependent on doing debuffs. Granted, everything from his basic can't be resisted, but you want all that goodness from his third ability to land. Trust me. So this is 111 potency. This is fine. This is a good amount of add, and then about 60% armor. All right. Now, as a comparison, I wanted to just show mine. And you see that he had health primaries all the way around. So I have a little bit of difference, all right? So he has 175,000 health. I only have 150, okay? So it is a significant difference. And remember, there's a lot of plus health gain, so it's worth looking at. It might be worth me thinking about swapping some stuff around long term. But the idea here is I'm 340 plus speed, over 150k health, and 150k is a relic 9 number. If you're like relic 8, maybe 140k. If you're relic 7, maybe 135, something like that. Kind of scale it in proportion there. But the idea was I had this character relic 8 with a health primary on the cross. And I would recommend the same for all of you. If you do take this character to Relic 9, the privilege of that is you gain so much health from that, when I was at Relic 8, I was about 150,000 health with a health primary on the cross. Now at Relic 9, I'm still at 150,000 health, but now I get to maintain that health and put on a potency cross. Now I'm 130% potency. I am highly confident my debuffs are going to land. And that was a trade-off I felt comfortable to make once I baked in that much survivability into the character. So for those of you who aren't planning on investing that Relic 9 into this, go for the health primary on the cross. Try to pick up as much potency in the secondaries as you can. You want to be over 100% potency. 110 plus is good. More than that is better. So much of this character is about that, but also speed, health, and speed and potency. So I would say, for me, I would say speed over health over potency would be my generic guideline about that. But trying to be, very, very fast, 330 plus, 340 plus, something like that, and with as much health as possible to heal up the team. So that's the tip. All right, as far as applications of this character, you're really not going to see this outside of the BKM team, but maybe if you want to use the unique like I discussed, you could throw it in with the Scoundrel team if BAM is present. So throw it in with BAM, Queel, IG-11 if you don't have your BKM together and see what happens. But I've covered in the BKM video and a little bit in pauses about some of these matchups, so I won't belabor the point because, Grogu is a supporting character and will support the mainstays of the team, regardless of how it's used. Don't limit your imagination, though. If you're going to use them with BAM, there might be a few other opportunities worth trying. And again, I'll just flash real quickly some of the BKM matchups with Grogu, in threes. Now, this was based on last 3 versus 3 season. Datacrons have rotated. But again, you're thinking about fighting teams that are wanting to debuff your BKM squad and then how you can take advantage of that. Because you punish people for debuffing you, you stack defense, you get Ancestral Resolve, which is giving everybody true damage that does damage. It's nasty business. All right, guys, that covers pretty much everything worth covering about Grogu. So thank you so much for the warm feedback and kind comments about this series. I'm going to keep on doing them. I think I might make the next video here. We'll talk about. I'm thinking about whether or not to do individual videos or kind of combine the last couple characters because there isn't a ton of notes about them. But I'll think about it here, and you'll see what I end up deciding in the next video. Until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.